Shalom, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're going to be starting in a few minutes. The first Tuesday of the English month, we always have here a special lecture about various topics. And today we have a very, very special topic. And for me personally, it's very special because Reb Uriel Perel was my teacher 12 years ago in a city called Beit Shemesh. And since then, many, many things happened. And I actually bumped into him one day here right on King George Street. And he told me that he has a gallery, an art gallery, and he showed me around. Very interesting, very inspiring. It's close to us and it's close to me. And that's why I'm very happy that we were able to arrange this lecture and to see how Judaism is very, very close to the whole idea of sculpturing. Of course, we know that art and Judaism goes very much together. Sculpturing, we might wonder, what is the connection? Is it permitted to have such a concept and idea in Judaism? So this is the topic of the lecture today, and this is what Reb Uriel Perel is going to explain to us. We've got here a small display of a few pieces of art. You're welcome to take a look now or later. Whoever wants to see the actual gallery, so you're welcome to the gallery itself, which is, if you walk maybe 100 meters right, 100 meters to the left when you leave the Bet Chabad on 28 King George Street. Beautiful, beautiful pieces of art, and today we're going to hear a lot more about this specific topic and about this specific idea. We want to stay in touch, so before you leave, please leave with us your name and your email so we can inform you about future lectures, and we also suggest a donation of 15 shekel for the next lecture. Thank you very much, and I hope you all enjoy the evening. All the best, and welcome to Reb Uriel Perel.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And I'm sorry I didn't mention, but we have the sculptor himself here with us today. Daniel Kafri is sitting here with us. Thank you very much for joining. Whoever wants to speak to him afterwards, you'll also get the opportunity to share a few words and to hear about pieces of art that he made. Welcome.
All right, thank you for the nice opening. Hi everyone, my name is Uriel Perel. As Rabbi Levi said, I own Keter Gallery right down the street on 28 King George. I had the privilege of working for more than several years with the master sculptor Daniel Kafri, who's sitting right here with us tonight. And today we will try to explain, great, right on time. So the lecture is about monuments of faith. We will try and explore a bit the role of art and focus also on the, especially on sculpting in relation with Judaism. We will try and see what's the Torah's approach towards it. Right after that, we will check halachically if that's okay, then ideologically if it's okay. From there, God willing, we will try and explain the inner secret of Jewish sculpting, which is not very simple, but I trust you are all smart enough to get it. And after that, we will see how that comes to expression in the life and work of Daniel Kafri. And at the end, we will explain why is it even needed. Why would we need art or sculpting or Jewish sculpting, as we call it, in our world today? What's the relevance to our life now? So I'd like to start with a question. Do you think there is any tension between Judaism and sculpting? Many would say, right, there is no tension because there is no relation. You can say that painters, we had a lot of very famous Jewish painters who made very beautiful painting. You can paint Judaica. But sculpting always had a rather different relation from people. because sculpting always reminds us of a very of the idea of idol worshiping, right? Sometimes I have religious people coming into my gallery, and the first question everyone has is it allowed? Can we use sculpting? Is it okay? Is it kosher, right? So to answer that, we need to understand what's the root of the big difference, the big gap between Judaism and sculpting. So in Masechet Avodah Zarah, right, Avodah Zarah tractate, page 9, it says that the world was supposed to be built, created for 6,000 years, and the Talmud divides it to 3 periods of 2,000 years. The first 2,000 years are 2,000 years of what you may call chaotic faith. Everyone was faithless. We had a few people who had faith, we had a few people who were righteous, but they kept to themselves. They were secluded from the society, and they kept to themselves. So everything was pretty much chaotic in everything related to faith. Then after 2,000 years came Abraham. So after 2,000 years came Abraham, and at his time started the 2,000 years of Torah, because Abraham fathered the Jewish nation and started monotheism, and he was the first prophet who convinced the whole world to worship only one God. The last 2,000 years that we are currently at the very end of, we are 5,783. So if you have any last arrangements to do, these are the years. So the last 2,000 years, it says in the Talmud, people are going to be about Messiah time, Mashiach. Everyone's going to be about Mashiach. If you look at Christianity, it started about 2,000 years ago, right? And also, Muhammad was also around the same time. So the whole world would start moving towards the redemption and the notion of Mashiach. That's the 2,000 years we are currently living in. Now, the first 2,000 years, before Abraham, as I said, everything was very... idol worshipping was the thing, right? Everybody had some kind of an idol who allowed him to behave in any way he wanted. When you had an unreal pagan-like idol or god, you could pretty much do whatever you want. It can be immoral behaviors, it could be immoral behaviors and promiscuous behaviors, and no one had a problem with that. After that, Abraham came. And as I said before, Abraham convinced the whole world in the notion of one God. So one of the first stories we are told about Abraham, like any Jewish kid learns in school, does not appear in the Bible itself or in the Torah. It's only from the Midrash. And there you can find a story that Abraham's father, Terach, was an idol. He had a shop of idols, right? And he sold idols. He had a shop, not like my gallery, which is no idols there, but he had his own shop of idols. And one day he asked Abraham to watch over the store when he's out. As soon as he walked out, Abraham took a hammer, bashed all the sculptures there, and left the hammer in the hand of the largest one. When his father came and saw the havoc, he said, "Well, what's going on here? What's that?" And Abraham told him, "Well, you know, I didn't do anything. I just brought an offering to this sculpture, this idol. Sorry, I just brought an offering to this idol." And they all started bickering who wants the offering. They started fighting, and then the biggest one, the strongest one, just took a hammer and broke everyone else and took the offering for himself. So of course Terach started screaming at him. He said, "That's impossible. These are wooden and stone-made idols." So of course Abraham answered to that with really not much sense in worshiping them then, right? Great. So this is Abraham. This is our father. We all grew up in these stories, right? It's not a new story to anyone here in this. And then Abraham fathered the Jewish nation, who received the Torah on Mount Sinai. Big effects, a lot of smoke, lightning, fire, whatever. God came down from heaven, gave us the Torah, and the second commandment in the Ten Commandments says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image." Everyone knows that. Every Jewish person knows that. That's the second commandment we have. So how come we are even here tonight speaking about sculpting in Judaism? There's nothing further apart than Judaism and sculpting. So I hope the question is clear. Now, it's not that we do not appreciate materialistic life or material themselves. We like expensive things. We appreciate gold. Gold is okay. Diamonds is just fine. Gold also, right? Nobody's going to turn down the diamond. So what's the problem? Maybe it's the fact that it has an idea into it. So we're not allowed to do any kind of shape, any graven image, right? But then if you look at the life of the Israelites right in the desert, right? They were ordered to build the tabernacle. And the tabernacle had a lot of amazing tools to it, starting from a golden menorah and all kinds of tools. And so you may say, okay, these are tools, these are accessories, this is something we use. So it's not really sculpture. But what would you say about the fact that Moses had to sculpt a bronze snake on a tall wooden, pole, to show all the people who were sick? And he said that it is written that anyone who looked at this bronze snake was healed. That's already a bit weirder. Gets weirder. We know that. All right. So we also know that not only that, but King Solomon built a chair, a very special chair. When he was king, he built a very special chair that had lions and eagles and stuff into it. It was very elaborate, very special chair. Also had images to it. And the strongest question is, well, inside the tabernacle, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, we had the Ark of the Covenant. Anyone knows what was on top of the Ark of the Covenant? The Cheruvim. The Cheruvim was two sculptures shaped like babies or angels, right on top, winged, right on top of the Ark of the Covenant. So we gotta hold our horses and ask again, is sculpture completely forbidden or not? To answer that, and try and answer that, we're going to start from the very simple level. We're going to just check our Jewish law, the halacha, the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch states 3 halachot. 3 halachot. The first one, very simple. One must be careful not to sculpt the shape of the sun, the moon, and the stars. We'll explain soon. Well, back then, people were smart and they knew that some of the influences in this world come through the celestial bodies, and they worshipped it in a way that they thought they have their own choice, and that was the root of Avodah Zarah as we know today. This is something the Rambam Maimonides explains, but that's on the side. This is the reason we are not allowed to sculpt the sun, the moon, the stars, celestial bodies. The second one is it is forbidden to sculpt a human form when it is complete. Which means if the human form is not complete, for example, it doesn't have all 5 fingers, missing a nose, it's not proportional, it's not a complete form, it's not forbidden. I saw once in one of the books, I think that might be the reason, that the shape of a human being, the shape itself, the head, the 10 fingers, the shape itself resembles the Creator in a spiritual way, and that's why you can't form an image, a complete image of a form of a man, because it has a connection to some kind of a soul. It can draw a soul into it, like the Maharal Prague and the Golden. But that's on the side. And the third thing is that it is okay. It says, that's what the Shulchan Aruch says, it's okay to sculpt anything that depicts the nature. You can depict the grass, the trees, animals, this is all fine. So halachically there's no problem. And now if we want to touch it a bit more to the deep, I have to say a few words on a very special man that we have here today. His name is Daniel Caffrey. Daniel Caffrey was born on the last day of World War II in Czechoslovakia in 1945. He was born on the brink of mankind's darkest hours and the beginning of its rebirth. He has a miraculous survival story. Maybe he'll tell you later. And he was destined to become one of the most famous and valued sculptors in the Jewish world. He has designed and sculpted monuments everywhere in stone, marble, bronze, in Israel, worldwide, private collectors, cities, museums, everywhere. You see this guy looks very modest. He has over 700 sculptures around the world. Small pieces and large pieces, but that's a scope of work unparalleled in the world of sculpting. So Daniel here, after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, where he fought right here around Jerusalem, and after the war, he made his journey back to Judaism. He decided to become an Orthodox Jew, and he took himself and put himself in a yeshiva called Or Sameach. And the name is familiar, right around the corner, right? Or Sameach. And his rabbi there was Rabbi Avraham Dov Auerbach. Rabbi Avraham Dov Auerbach, the younger brother of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. These are big rabbis right here, who was the rabbi of Baka and who was the Rosh Yeshiva over there, the head of the yeshiva. And Daniel learned there, and after a while, let's say his fingers started tingling, and he wanted to go back to work, and wanted to go back and sculpt, but he didn't feel like it's okay, he didn't know. So he went ahead and he asked the Rosh Yeshiva, is it okay that I will continue working as a sculptor? And the answer is quite surprising. Rabbi Auerbach told him, he told it to me himself, and Rabbi Auerbach told him that. So, Rabbi Auerbach told him that every occupation has halachas to it, has Jewish law that deals with it. And as long as you do your occupation according to halacha, everything is fine. He said the same with sculpting. Like we went over the three major halachas in Avodah Zarah in sculpting. He said as long as you go according to halacha, everything is fine. Good. But moreover, he told him more than that. He told him that not only he can, he must and he should work in continue to sculpt, because his work can influence the world and spread God's name in a way that even 1,000 Talmidei Chachamim, Torah scholars, could not do. That's from Rabbi Auerbach. He told him that his work can influence the world and spread God's name in a way more than 1,000 Talmidei Chachamim can. So far. So Danny was very happy to hear that, and he went back to work. He met an amazing person called Jack Bales, Mr. Jack Bales. Everyone knows him. They met right here down the street somewhere. They met next to La Rome. It was La Rome Hotel. They are in a very good relationship till today. I had the privilege of meeting him a few times. When he met Danny, they clicked. He understood Danny's life, he understood his mission, and they cooperated to this very day, building, I think, the largest collection of marble sculptures of a single artist in the world. So that was 1975, and we have Rabbi Auerbach's specific answer to Danny. Now, so according to Allah it's okay, according to Musar it's also fine. Now I want to give you another thing, very interesting letter that I saw from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe had a correspondence with an artist, a sculptor called Jack Lifshitz, right, that's the name. And Jack Lifshitz had an interesting life story, but that's not part of the event today. But he had a letter correspondence with the Rebbe, and I saw one of the letters, and the Rebbe tells him in a letter that, and explains that the mitzvah of tefillin is the most general mitzvah, and sculpting is just like tefillin. I'll repeat that. The Rebbe told him that sculpting is like tefillin. He said why? And the Rebbe explains in a very articulated way, and his special words that I don't have the same, I lack the same ability like the Rebbe to express it, but the Rebbe says in his own words, that, in my own words, that when you take tefillin, you have one against your heart and one on top of your head, and that shows that you surrender yourself to, you surrender your emotions and your mind to a godly will. And the Rebbe said that's the very same issue with sculpting. What does a sculptor do? He takes a shapeless piece of matter and he forces a form on it. He gives it an idea, a spiritual meaning. So the Rebbe tells that sculpting is like tefillin. And the Rebbe also says he says it's even much more than painting, because when you paint, even though the painting might be very elaborate, very sophisticated, very colorful, very special, and with amazing technique, but still it's just paint on paper. It's not the material itself that speaks. It's not the piece of stone or the piece of metal, the piece of bronze or the piece of rock that speaks, becomes the art that takes upon itself the spiritual idea itself. So far we had Rabbi Auerbach's opinion, and we just heard the Rebbe's opinion. So far, so good. I would like to share with you also an interesting article I found by Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Ginsburg. Anyone knows the name? He's a great Mikubal. He is a Kabbalist rabbi, very, very connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he has a very fresh look on things and very interesting and original. And I came across one of his analysis, and I would like to share with you. He explains about the 10 Sefirot. Everyone knows the term, the 10 spheres, right? So he explains that the 10 spheres is, for those of you who don't know, the 10 spheres is the 10 attributes, the 10 channels through which God operates and creates this world all the time. I'd like to show you a parallel that he makes. He makes a parallel between the Sephirot and different fields in life. It's quite, I liked it very much. These are the 10 spheres, right? Everyone can see that. So we have Chochmah, Bina, which are connected to Da'at, and then Chesed and Gevura that creates Tiferet, then Netzah and Hod that creates Yesod, and then Malchut. In English, that's wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, kindness, strength, and balance, victory, splendor, foundation, and kingship. Everyone knows that? Pretty cool. So, what Rabbi Ginsburg adds is that he gives a parallel between each of the Sephiros to a different field of life. For example, he says wisdom, which is just the point of the wisdom itself, is actually mathematics. Mathematics is nothing but equations. It's not elaborate, it's just the equation itself, it's just the way things work. If you elaborate the mathematics, then you can start and explain exact sciences. And then he goes on and on to psychology, to law. He says kindness is social sciences. He says balance is what brings the secret of medicine. Pretty interesting. Well, I like something, maybe you're going to like this one, that victory, netzach, is education. That if you really want to educate, you have to be very, I would not say victorious, it's not the word, but you have to be very clear. You need to follow the same rules all the time. That's the way to really educate, to set up the boundaries and stuff. So I like that very much. But then, as I continued reading, I found something even more interesting. If we divide them to levels, you can see this is the conscious intellect, right? This is where your brains work. This is the primary emotions you have, kindness, strength, and the balance of them. And these are the secondary emotions. But we also have another level. The higher level than the 10 Sephiros is called Keter. Keter in Hebrew is crown. Crown, Keter, and here you have the symbol. Everyone gets it. The symbol, the Keter, is built from 3 parts. It has 3 elements to it. The first one is Torah, right? Why? Because at the superconscious, you need Torah. Torah is godly wisdom. It's not our wisdom, it's godly wisdom. The second part is faith. Faith is a godly emotion. It's some sort of feeling of connectedness that you cannot... What's the word? Sorry.
You can't rationalize.
You can't rationalize, you can't run away from. It's also good. You can't comprehend, right? That's that faith is godly emotion. And what's the third part? of the Keter. That's art. That's art. Why? Well, art, Torah, and faith all need inspiration. They all need inspiration. What is art? So if we said Torah is godly wisdom and faith is godly emotion, art is the godly will to be part of this world. When somebody uses art, he expresses his will to become a partner of God's creation, to become a partner of God in this creation. He also wants to take part in creating and joining this harmonious place. So, and if we can define what is an artist, so an artist is a partner in the creation of harmony. Any kind of art, any sort of art needs to have some harmony to it. If it's a nice painting, you need harmony between the colors. If it's a nice composition, a melody, you need harmony between the notes, right? Or harmony between the words, or harmony between the moves. And in sculpting, it's harmony between the material itself and the form it has. So this is the Rabbi Ginsburg analysis, and he says art is part of the Keter. So now, we're here today to learn about sculpting. We just explained art, any kind of art. If it's a nice melody, or it's a nice composition, or it's a nice painting. But what's so special about art itself? What's so special about sculpting more than the other fields of art? So, to explain that, I want to tell you a little lesson that I learned, not little, it's a meaningful one, that I learned from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. Everybody familiar with the name? Good, good. So, Rabbi Y.Y. is, I think today, the top lecturer in Chabad. He's a very wise man, great pedagogue. He's teaching things very deeply. And I heard an amazing shir from him. And it's about a book called Perek Shira. Familiar with that? Perek Shira, it's the chapter of song. It contains 6 chapters, and it's in each of the 6 chapters, there's a description of the elements of creation, singing God's praises. According to Kabbalah, this harmonious song of each element in creation is not only a praise to God, but it's also the very essence and existence of this very element. And whether it's a star, an animal, or a plant, the fact that it sings a praise to God, it's his way to connecting to the harmonious cycle of life. When something has a song to it, it's connected to the harmonious cycle of life. We all know the feeling that when you go to sit at the beach and it's quiet and you hear the waves, something makes you calm about it. If you go out to nature and you hear just the wind going through the trees, something makes you soothe, something makes you calm, something makes you enjoy the harmony of it. So, in Perek Shira, in this book, it explains that everything has a song, and you can hear everything. You can hear the song of animals, of plants, of water, of wind, even fire. You can hear the song of everything. The only thing you can't hear the sound of is minerals, or what we would call still life. Right? That's the right word, still life. Still life, inanimates, inert, whatever, but the best definition to it would be still life in English. But today we have technology, and our technology, anyone who has the right equipment can look at atoms and particles and see that nothing is still. Everything has movement. If you take the right equipment, you look at a piece of stone, well, you have particles all over the place, right? It's a whole mess. Well, it's not very messy. It's pretty. There is some order, but there's movement. It's not still at all. So Rabbi Jacobson says, do you know what's the origin of the word? What's the meaning of the word still life in Hebrew? We do not say it doesn't move. Lelot nu'ah. How do we say something that is not plant or a human being or an animal? How do you call that in Hebrew? It's called domim. Domim means silent. That's the word, like Dmama Daka, called Dmama Daka. Doime means silent. Why is it called silent? Because there is life in it, there is movement in it, there is the song in it even, but you can't hear it. You can't hear the song in the dome. You can't hear the song of materials like a piece of stone or a piece of metal. It has no sound. Unless you find someone skillful enough who is able to hear the song inside the dome. What?
And that is the sculptor.
That is the sculptor, exactly. I'll give you Lehavdil. They once asked, I was in Florence, Danny took me to Florence, we went there, we went to see some pieces you have to see if you want to be in the world of art. It's not an easy experience for someone who's Orthodox, but had to be done. But I'm happy I did it because I learned from it a lot of things. We saw sculptures by Michelangelo called The Slaves of Michelangelo, a very famous work. And it looks like big, large men trying to free themselves out of the pieces, the chains of the rock. Like it's half rock, and then you have the person trying to free himself out. So he was asked once, Michelangelo was asked, how are you able to create such amazing pieces? Where do you get the ideas from? How do you make such a thing? And Michelangelo said, I don't. The sculpture is already there. I just free it. What?
Take away the excess.
Exactly. It takes away the excess, just free it out of the material. So now the Danny, which is a Jewish sculptor, is able to look at the material. Sometimes it happens, I'll tell you all about it in a second. And hear the song of the stone. He hears it. I've seen it. We went to Carrara, to Tuscany, to choose huge blocks of marble for a sculpture we did in the ultra-Orthodox city of Beitar Illit. Right? That's an ultra-Orthodox city. We built a menorah, 5.5 meters over there. Beautiful combination of marble and bronze. And we went to Italy to choose and make sure that we have the right stones for it, the right blocks. So they have what I like to call the marble fields. When you come down the mountains of Carrara, you have just quarries. The quarries up in the mountain, but then you have places where you have just blocks of marble. You walk around and you choose them. And I walk around. I'm looking at the size with a meter, right? I want to see the size, the complexity, the shade. Danny listens to them. Walks around the stones, trying to listen, trying to feel which one has the best song. And that's the way he chooses it. So unless you have a very talented, masterful, skillful, special soul like Caffrey, how else would we hear Doimen? How else would we be able to feel the harmony that exists also in still life? I want to show you a little movie on one of Danny's works. I think one of his most famous one today, and it's called The Gate of Faith. It is a very large sculpture that today it's a national tourism site, has over 1 million tourists per year. It's in Jaffa's boardwalk.
Old Jaffa.
Tel Aviv. Old Jaffa, right there. Okay? And I want to share with you a little, we went there to make a little movie and just see what goes on there during one day. I don't have the sound here, but...
הראשון שעשיתי אחרי שחזרתי בתשובה, למעשה. כשחשבתי בשלב במחשבה אז, לעשות פסק כזה שכל מי שיעבור דרכו יחזור בתשובה. הפסק הזה מחולק לשלושה סיפורים. הסיפור הראשון בצד ימין זה חלום עקדת יצחק, שאברהם, על ידי זה שהוא העלה את יצחק לעולה, הוא קיבל את ההבטחה על הארץ. העמוד השני זה חלום יעקב, שגם כשחלום יעקב חלם, אז השם הבטיח לו את הארץ, לא לדור. אז יש לך את שלושת האבות, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. שעליהם מושתתת הזכות שלנו לארץ ישראל. והקוראן העליונה זה התחלת ההגשמה. זאת אומרת, שלושת האבות זה ההבטחה. והקוראן העליונה זה התחלת ההגשמה, זה כיבוש יריחו, מסתובבים יהודים מסתובבים יריחו עם השופרות. כן? וזה התחלת הכניסה לארץ ישראל. אז יש פה שלמות כזאת של ההבטחה וההגשמה. בדרך כלל כשמציירים את עקדת יצחק, אתם מציירים אותו כאילו אברהם שופט אותו בסכין, כן? אני לא רציתי לעשות את זה, רציתי כאילו שהוא מעלה אותו. בבית יצחק דרך אגב, כתוב שהוא עלה לשמיים, פחד לשמע ונגע גשם.
So as you saw, there are more than 1 million people coming a year, going through this gate, which has a notion of faith. This is called the gate of faith. Think about the influence. Rabbi Auerbach was not wrong. That's 1 million people per year now that are continuing to go through these 3 pieces of, through 3 pieces of stone. What you just saw is a few tons of stone. But Danny, Mr. Caffrey here, was able to hear the sound, the song, God's harmony. And today there's more than all these people who are coming there, Jews and non-Jews, right? We were there, we met all kinds of people, and they all celebrate Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the existence of Jews in Israel. They are celebrating Abraham's legacy with a sculpture. So we can answer that sculpting expresses more than everything the general idea of elevating the material to a spiritual level. And this is why sculpting from all sorts of art expresses this idea more substantially, and you have to. You can make no mistakes. Danny always tells me when he makes a sculpture that when you paint, you can erase, you can correct, but when you make a sculpture, you have one crack, one mistake. Nothing. It has to be 100% correct. And also, it has to be eternal. You will not do anything that is fashionable. Any sculpture you make has to be eternal. Well, it's a whole notion. Maybe he'll tell you about that later, about how he feels about what sculpting gave to all kinds of, cultures, different cultures in the world. All right, so we go back to our idea. So we saw that that it's okay halachically. We saw that it's okay according to Musa. We saw that it's okay according to Hasidic idea. We saw that it's okay that sculpting is even needed according to the Kabbalistic idea. But the big question for us is, well, don't we have bigger problems? Why would we need to come here tonight and learn about sculpting? Unless you're an art lover or you are enthusiastic about sculpting, why is this subject even relevant to us? And relevant to all of us? So I'll ask you a question. What would you say the Jewish people's biggest problem, or better yet say, challenge? What is our biggest challenge? Any ideas? Well, we have a lot, I know. I know. But one would say, give me an example.
Our unity.
Our unity, right, Achdus. I knew that would come up somehow. Our unity, of course. Well, let's say we have unity. Let's say all the Jews are united. God willing. Let's say all the Jews are united. Then what? Then we all assemble to Israel. Then what? Then we fundraise. We have to fundraise, right? Then we fundraise.
Then we eat.
Then we eat in between each of the stages. We eat, we fundraise, we eat, right? We unite, we eat, we assemble, we eat, we fundraise, we eat. Then once we've assembled, once we've fundraised enough, we're going to go and build what? Beis Hamikdash, the Temple Mount. Great. This is the highest, the peak of our nation. And what happens in Beis Hamikdash? Anybody knows?
Heaven and earth meet.
Heaven and earth meet, right? That's a good dot right over there, good spot. But also, what would happen in Beis Hamikdash? We would wait during the year. You have Pesach, you have all sorts of things. Pilgrimages, right? And the best one is Sukkot. In Sukkot, it's a full week. Everyone goes to Beis Hamikdash, and everybody brings his own offerings. But also in Beis Hamikdash, the Kohanim priests have to sacrifice 70 bulls the first day, 14, 13, 12, and so on. So it accumulates to 70 bulls. Why 70 bulls? Anybody knows why 70? Right, what?
70 people went down.
70 Sanhedrin, right? 70 people were there. No, it's 70
Nation.
70 nations. That's right. That's my guy Elisha right over there. Is my right hand. So 70 nations. There are 70 nations. Wait. We have to unite, assemble, fundraise, eat, meet, sacrifice, worship, pray, in order to, in the peak of the year, in Sukkot, in the holiday of Sukkot, to sacrifice 70 bulls for the 70 nations. Am I the one in charge that the Chinese would have rice? I'm in charge that the Italians would have their pasta? What about us? I thought we are the chosen people, aren't we? We're the chosen people. What about us? But here comes a very interesting notion. We are the chosen people. But chosen for what? We are chosen to lead this world, to accept God's presence in this world. We are chosen to educate, to teach, to lead, to lighten, to connect, and to bring the name of God to all nations, to the whole world. So the idea is, the highlight and the mission of our nation is to, like I said before, to connect with all the nations and bring them under the wings of the Shekhinah. It has a very, very specific verse that says, "For then I will give the people of all nations pure speech, so that all of them will speak the name of God and worship me together." That's the top. That's the end game, right? That's the last step of creation. So if you want to do that, how would you speak to the nations? Can I walk around the streets with 2 pieces of cardboard screaming about faith? That's not going to work. Or should I go around and build huge yeshivas and study Torah all day long in my yeshiva? That's not going to work. That's not the right language. If you want to make God king on this earth, you can't go through Torah and through faith. The language you should use is what? Art. That's the third element of the Keter. If you want to crown God over this world, the language we use is art. I'll share a few examples, that I witnessed myself. I had the privilege to go and meet the King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of Bahrain. I met him. I presented him with a dove of peace. That's a sculpture Danny made to celebrate peace in '94 with the Jordanians, and now for the Abraham Accords. You can see it right over there. That's the dove. So I presented he's a king, he's a real king. I presented him with the sculpture, and the only thing he had to say, I'll show you. Thank you. It's right here.
He doesn't get to eat.
No, he kept it. It was a present. It was a present from us to celebrate the brave step this nation took. Had no real interest, but whatever. So when I presented it to him, we started speaking about the dove and how it is connected to Noah and how it is connected to the 3 families that came out of Noah, which by the way were 70 nations. Thank you. And the whole conversation was, how do we bring these 3 families back together? How do we reconnect Shem, Ham, and Japheth together? That was the whole conversation. You would think we would speak about politics, we would speak about economy, but no, the conversation was about faith, and faith in God, and peace between the nations. I once showed a relief Daniel made about Hagar and Ishmael straying in the desert. Heart-wrenching piece. And I met a young Moroccan researcher. She came to Israel. I showed her this piece of art. She burst to tears. She started crying, emotional crying. I was like, but what happened? She said, you know this story? We wrote it, but no, we didn't write the story, but I told her, yes, of course we know the story. She said, the fact that you know the story and that you have an artist that depicted that in a piece of art, that melts my heart. That is going to melt the heart of my nation back in Morocco, to see that you have empathy to the brokenness we feel, that we carry with us since that day. And you should see the faces of my African American friends when I tell them the story. This is still a sketch, it's not a sculpture yet, but you should see their faces when I tell them a story, this story about Eliezer, the right hand of Abraham, which was originally, according to the Torah, he was a black person. He was a black person. You should see their faces when they hear about that the conversation around art is the key to bring the nations together to us. That's the best language to talk to. The nations get it. All nations. If you go, you won't go, but if you would check on Google, any cathedral, any major cathedral has amazing paintings on it, amazing pieces of art. Every mosque, real mosque, has an amazing architecture and calligraphy embedded into the walls. They know art is the way. They know art is connected with beauty, with harmony, with faith, with Torah, and with the crowning of God. And the list just goes on and on. You get the idea. So, I'd like to summarize and say a few final words. Before the time of Abraham, like we started and explained, there was chaos. And then for 2,000 years, Torah had to be learned and mastered. So the world was not yet ready to deliver the message through art. That's the reason sculpting in Judaism never really paralleled. The world was not ready. But today, thank God, we have faith. And thank God we have Torah. And all that is left is the third element of the crown, the keter, which is to speak the language of art. To crown God here means to make Him present in all levels of creation. Plants, animals, minerals, and also people, all people. Luckily for us, there are people who know how to do it. There's a master sculptor right here who knows how to allow other people to hear this harmonious song in the world. And also, luckily for us, a Jewish woman during 1945, which was malnourished but very brave, short and brave, gave birth to a kid, half dead, who miraculously survived to grow and become the world greatest Jewish sculptor in our times. And his work has allowed me and many, many others to understand and to connect to God's presence in the material world. And Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, he knows how to inspire. His works are inspiring all people to tell God that we can hear you, we can feel you, we can hear your song everywhere, in every piece of art, and we enjoy taking part in your harmonious creation. And as written, God is one, and His name is one, and it is best seen through the lowest elements of creation, through the material itself. If you look over there, you can see a marble piece. It's a model of of a larger planned work. I'll bring it here. So, couldn't carry anything heavier here. It's just all the pieces are very heavy. But that's a nice one. That's a model. One will look at that and say, what's going on around here? But this piece has a song. There is movement. There is touch to it. When I put it there, you're going to see it. Well, that's a model. If I would be speaking about the larger size, you would see Danny this size here, carving and chipping at the rock, full of dust, full of dust and stone, working and battling. Each piece of work like that, it's a battle. It's a huge. It takes sometimes a year and more to work on a piece of rock, chipping and carving it and going into it, and it's a real battle. But it has harmony to it. It has chen. How do you say chen? It has grace to it. It has charm. It has, and when you see him work, it's like seeing a conductor. It's like seeing a conductor in the philharmonic. Elisha, so after that, you're all welcome to feel the sculpture, to see how nice it is. So every time Danny makes a sculpture, it's a whole experience. You see him inside it, battling and making the form overcome matter, and then he brings it to the point that it sings. I hope that all of us will be able to hear the song of God everywhere we go, also in the still life, in the silent life. And I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. You understood why we call it Monuments of Faith. That's what CAFRI does. That's what we like to do. This is our mission on earth, and we hope you enjoyed it. And please, it was a great honor to speak in front of you today and present you with Daniel CAFRI, if you would want to take a couple of questions.